everybody, and welcome to our Microsoft Teams Launch Your Team into Collaboration Overdrive webinar. So we are going to go through a lot of key details about Teams today, and I'm super excited for it. So I thank you all for being here, and I hope everybody's staying safe out there. I do know that a lot of people are currently working at home and getting used to a lot of technology. So I'm really hoping that this Microsoft Teams webinar will help some people out in terms of just getting used to that new technology, settling in to being a little bit more remote more lately. So I do appreciate you all being here, and I'm happy to present. My name is Jesse, and we are going to go into a little bit about that. So, of course, I am super happy to be here with CompuEase and JN Software. Since joining the team, I definitely have noticed that everybody on this team have a customer focus, and that's what I love most about this team. Oh, I got a question in. Sorry, just to interrupt myself here. I got a question in from Barry saying, should I be hearing anything? If you are having issues, everybody, and I'll post this in the chat as well, just direct your questions to Melanie Ziltner. Sorry about that, Melanie. So I'll just post that in the chat as well because I'm hearing something as well. Just any questions to any technical questions? I should be more specific. Also, another thing to mention is if you are having some issues, we will be providing the link to the recording after this. This is, of course, live, which is nice, but we will definitely be providing a link to the recording afterwards as well. All right. There. Okay, perfect. Thanks so much. Okay, thanks so much, Melanie. I can see that you're on it. Perfect, that's excellent. Any Teams-related questions, of course, are to be directed towards me, the trainer here, so just make sure to type those in. I will mention, though, that I will save most of the questions to the very end, just making my life a little bit easier to get through the topics. We have a jam-packed webinar today, so I just want to make sure that I can get everything first. And then yeah, I mean, then after the session is done, I will go into a question and answer period. All right, so just continuing on there. I just wanted to mention that we're all incredibly student focused, so that's my favorite part about working here. I've worked other places before. This has definitely been an eye-opening situation for me, so I absolutely love it. My personal favorite part is, of course, that I get to see the light bulbs. Now, I'm speaking very theoretically at this point because we're doing a lot of online training recently, which is great. We love online training. We do it quite well. But I can definitely hear it in your voices still, which is kind of nice. I really like that. Since we've been switching more to an online platform, I can hear those light bulbs go off. A bit of a fun fact about me, I'm a huge coffee nerd. So if you have any questions about Teams or coffee, that's cool. And I'm also a competitive pool player, which we will definitely go back to eventually. All right. So let me just go into who are JN Software and CompuEase. They are sister companies. They provide services throughout Canada. JN Software offers training, consulting, and database development Canada-wide, and CompuEase provides training for Ottawa and the National Capital Region. So a little bit on the JN side of things, they provide training which are online public classes with a live instructor, and private online and on-site training, as well as consulting and database development. So that one is Canada-wide. Whereas CompuEase provides on-site public training at our downtown Ottawa training center, and also private one-on-one and that can be either on-site or online. Sorry, there's a couple of questions just in the chat right now. I thought I would help out because I'm not sure that. So to Barry and Sanjay about the no computer audio, that's a limitation of Ring Central Meetings, which is what we use as our platform for showing these webinars. And if you are using the online version, so the web browser version of that, that is why you cannot connect using computer audio. It's just a limitation of that setup. That being said, if you had downloaded the full application, then you would have a choice whether you wanted to use computer or phone audio. So I just thought I would give that shout out because there was a couple questions about that in the chat. So Melanie, I don't know if you can just type that in for me so that I don't have to spend time typing, but because I don't know if Sanjay and Barry can hear me. Perfect. Thanks, Melanie. All right. Okay, so just moving on, what do they both offer? They both offer fast quality customer service, highly skilled, experienced, and professional trainers like yours truly, and a public class schedule with guaranteed to run classes that run often. So I just wanted to highlight that a little bit. Even if there's even one person scheduled in a public class, we still run it. So that is one thing that we do like to offer for sure. Just make sure that you get those classes when you need them. We also offer a learn or come back free policy on all of our public classes, 24/7 after training support for all software training. So if you are kind of like me, where you have all of your questions, you think of them, right after you are outside of the training room, which is kind of how I definitely end up, then you can definitely ask us afterwards because we do offer that 24/7 after training support. And finally, both software and professional skills training. So most people do associate us with, software skills, and we do that quite well. But we also do offer professional skills training. So that's just kind of like, your meeting minutes, taking in briefing notes, stuff on writing proper briefing notes and some business kind of centric courses. So I just thought I'd highlight that for you. Now, we are going to next go, sorry, I almost forgot, our free training and consulting audit. This is just a very new initiative that we're starting to offer, and we're very excited about it because it's a very quick solution to your training or your database problems. So what you're going to do is you're just going to provide us with a few answers that should help us out. It shouldn't take very long at all. And then what we do is we put together a nice little report that you can use or not use. It's up to you. You get that choice. And then it will suggest some of our free resources that you can utilize to help with your team. And you can also use it for any of we do suggest some of our paid resources as well. So I just thought I would highlight that. If you are curious about that, I will post the link in the chat, so jnsoftware.ca/audit. So I'll do that in a little bit. All right. Perfect. Okay, so our next slide that we're going to go through is just, of course, the webinar. That's what everybody came for, so that's what we're going to present right now. We have the first topic being getting started with Teams. So I'm just going to take you through a general overview of Teams very quickly, just to get you situated, because I find unless you understand kind of what Teams is supposed to do, kind of hard to understand some of the key features of Teams. So I like to give that kind of overview of Teams before we go in any detail in any one feature. Topic 2 is going to be working with chat. Nice, simple topic, but I will explain kind of how Teams differs from some of the other applications out there that do chat. And then we have a Teams demo. So that is the main portion of Teams. There's a lot you can do there. It's a lot about collaboration. It is amazing. I love it. So I'm going to show it to you today. I will show you some outside apps as well. We will go through one called Planner. which is a brand new Microsoft app out there on the market. It does come with your 365 license. And if anybody's done agile project management, this is going to be very familiar to you. This application will help you with that, but it also helps with a lot of other things as well. So we will just definitely go through that as kind of like a bonus to the Teams demo there. And finally, our last topic there will be the meetings demo. So this will work a lot similarly to, or very similarly, I should say, to a lot of other meetings out there. So I'll just explain some of the things that are specific to Teams and what Teams does really well. All right. So we're going to do that, and then I'll give you a little bit of a bonus at the very, very end, just because I like everybody on this call. I can feel it. I know I'm getting that vibe. I like everybody. So, oh, and just a heads up for that jnsoftware.ca/audit that I was talking about just a slide ago, I did notice that Melanie had posted that in the chat, so you can just definitely click on that if you are interested. Perfect. Alrighty, so I'm going to flip myself right over into the Teams application, and we are just going to get right into it. Perfect. So when you first open up Teams, the first thing that you're going to see is, of course, the Teams area. So on the left-hand side, just to kind of help you get situated, you can see there are a bunch of different buttons. So these are kind of different features that Teams offers. They're kind of major portions of Teams that you're seeing there on the left-hand side. The one that you land on, for the most part, when you first log in, will be the Teams area. To explain that, your Teams area is going to be your kind of collaboration central. All right, so this is where you're going to do any posting, any file work. There's some other things like taking notes and that sort of thing. Anything where you are collaborating with other people, you will use this Teams area. The Teams area will be broken up into teams, which sounds obvious, but the teams, what they are used for is for a specific focus. So you can see here I've got a project management team, I've got a general coffee knowledge base team, a finance team. I told you I was a coffee nerd. A finance team there as well, and there could be any number of teams. These are all created by the organization, so you get to mix and match the teams however you see fit. So they're just a group. People will be invited to these groups, and if people are invited to the groups, or if it's a public team, people can actually just join. So they don't have to be invited, but they can just join as well. Once that is complete, pretty well anything underneath that team they will have access to. Now there is an exception, of course. You can see down below my project management team, I have 3 separate, they're called channels, but you can kind of think of them as sub-teams almost. They're like subgroups within a team, but they're called channels, so I'll use that terminology right now. Now anybody that has access or has joined the project management team would then have access and automatically be joined to any of the channels beneath it. Again, the only exception to that is if you do create a private channel, so that is possible as well, in which case you would have to specifically invite people to anything that is considered to be private. Alrighty, so what can you do in these teams? So there's a few things that you can do in these teams that I will mention right off the bat. You can see when I do click on a given team, this one here is called O'Neill Coffee Website Development Project, and you can see there's a few different tabs across the top of this team that you can kind of work with. I will let you know that the first 3 are the default tabs here, so posts and files and wiki. Those are your defaults, but you can also add in some extra tabs to make your life a bit easier and to collaborate further with your team. So in the post area, primarily the post area is going to be for any conversation related to the channel that you're working in. So this one's a website website development project. So presumably all of the chat would be surrounding that effort. Okay, anything website development related. However, this also does highlight a couple of other things that you can do within this post area. So you can see here there is a meeting right now. So the meeting, you'll get any history about that meeting, you'll get the timing of that meeting. If there happens to be a recording of the meeting, you will see it there as well. So this little post that you see in here contains a lot of different things, just a matter of opening it up and you will see some of the details. If there's a recording, any meeting minutes, stuff like that, you'll see in there. Another thing is you will have your files that were posted in here or any tabs as well. So this does highlight the fact that the post area is kind of like an updates area as well. So any conversation as well as any updates that are happening to that channel will end up in this posts area. Just as a reminder, guys, if you do have any questions about this, I'm not seeing too many questions about Teams quite yet, but feel free. I just don't want to forget at all, but feel free to just type in your questions into the chat box there. That should help me out. I will go through a question and answer period at the very end, as I've mentioned. And if you can't chat, if you can't type something out, then just save your question to the very end, and you can definitely just take yourself off of mute during the question and answer period, and we can chat. All right, so just continuing on. You do have within a channel files area here, so you can see any files that you've added to this channel will be, in a folder or in the main level, that sort of thing. I do have actually a better channel for this. There's more files here in my process improvements, so I'm just going to go down there. And you can see here that there's folders, there's files, that sort of thing. One thing to mention about this is this does have a SharePoint back end. So if you are working in your channels and you're collaborating on files, then all of the files that you've uploaded will be uploaded to SharePoint by default. You won't have to think too much about this. You don't have to be super knowledgeable about SharePoint to be able to use this, because it all kind of happens in the background. You don't have to think about it at all. But what's nice about that is SharePoint is a cloud location, which means that anytime that you collaborate on a file, and we'll talk about this in just a second, but anytime that you collaborate on a file, everybody else can see your changes in real time. So if I do open up this Gantt project planner, and I start to make some edits to this Excel file that I've got in front of me. Yes, it's kind of a fancy Excel file, but it is an Excel file. You'll notice that even to the point of, other people's cursors, you can see that level of detail of what people are currently working on. Also, you'll notice that the Excel application is currently within the window, in the Teams window. So it's actually a nice piece of integration between Teams and Excel. You have the same piece of integration between Teams and PowerPoint and Word and OneNote, whatever you happen to be using, that's especially the Microsoft applications. As you are collaborating on them, they will be seeing your changes in real time, and you don't have to leave the Teams application to make changes. Now, if you want to, you can. If you are more familiar, you're happier with the larger applications, there is a button over here called Open in Desktop App, and that will work the same way. So if you do click on the Open in Desktop App, the full version will also show you the changes happening in real time as well. We'll clear that in just a second, but I just wanted to mention that to show you one of the benefits of using files while working in Teams. We also then have a wiki area. So the wiki is not very full here, so I'm just going to go over down to your general coffee knowledge base, but the last default tab that you will get is called wiki. And you can see here it kind of just looks like a notepad. And really, to be completely honest, that's all it really is. It is a notepad. There's not a heck of a lot more to it. But that being said, this notepad is shared between all of your team members that have access to this channel, which just simply highlights the fact that you can, collaborate on notes together. That is the reason why they called it a wiki. A wiki is a community-based note center, so it can be updated by anybody in here. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That's what the wiki is for. I have seen the wiki there for, just general information. I've also seen the wiki there for any job aids, so helping people do their jobs more efficiently, as well as any kind of process definitions, stuff like that. So you can use the wiki in whichever way you want. Now, I'm just going to go back to my website development project here. And you'll notice that you will get some additional tabs that you can add on. We will go into detail actually about how to add these tabs in my Microsoft Teams full course, so just keep that in mind. The additional tabs is kind of a bit of an advanced feature to talk about in 40 minutes, but in the full course we do go into a lot of detail about how to add these tabs in. Now, let me just explain what's in front of you right now. You do have this tab, it's called Website Development. So this is actually the Planner application. It's a new application developed by Microsoft, and what it does is it just helps you organize all of the work surrounding your focus. So in this case, it's a website development focus. You can see here that we have some tasks such as defining budget and scope, implement requirements. There's some other things that are currently completed in here. And what's nice about this this planner application is you get to see it based on a schedule. So you can see, if I take a look here, you can see where things are due. You can take a look at these things in a certain bucket as well. So if I go back to my board and I say, who is it assigned to? Or I can say, let's group it by progress. So that just changes things. Same tasks, just different groupings. So the planner application just makes your life a little bit easier in terms of understanding status and who has what and that sort of thing. Now, that's not the point of today. I didn't really necessarily want to show you Planner, although it is a nice little tool there for you. What I wanted to explain to you, though, is that other outside applications can be used within Teams as well. So I've got Planner in front of me. It is a Microsoft product. I will mention that there are several non-Microsoft products that also integrate here quite nicely, actually. So if you're using Trello, I've also seen things like, Facebook updates or LinkedIn updates, things like that. Yeah, things like that. All righty. So, there's some questions coming in. I'm noticing them. Don't worry, I will get to them. I promise. I've got some good answers for you. All right. So, that is kind of in a nutshell what you can do with your Teams area. I like to go over that in quite a bit of detail just because to get you situated and just because it is the major area within Teams. There's a number of other features to talk about today. So just while we're still in our first kind of just going over Teams as a whole, I'm just going to skim over them nice and quickly, and then we'll go into some more detailed things. So we'll finish off getting started, that first topic here. So just to explain the navigation here, now that we understand Teams, you also have other things in here, kind of like activity. So activity here is going to be your activity feed related to your app, your profile that you've got in front of you. So my profile, my name in this application right now is Student 1. And so for anything related that happened related to Student 1, you'll see an entry in this profile. And you can actually click on them and they will just jump to that area within your Teams application. So you can see that somebody replied to one of my messages. You can also see here that somebody mentioned me in a message as well. You will see things in here like if I've been added to a team or a channel. You'll see if somebody has uploaded a file to a team that I own. Things like that will all show up in that activity feed, and just keep a nice running tab of all of the stuff that I should really pay attention to. All right, so that's your activity tab. It is not the only way that you do get notified of anything, right? So you do have some other options as well. Very similarly to how Outlook works, if you can think of that, there's like a little pop-up that usually shows up at the very bottom right corner. That's one of the ways you might get notified. Also, in some situations, you might also get an email sent to your inbox. That is another way, as well as you'll see icons that will pop up. And I'll show you that in just a second. We'll get to that. No worries. Okay, so the chat area is very simple. So let me just explain that very quickly. Chat area is exactly how you would imagine most chat applications to work. You do have a list of all of the recent chats on the left-hand side. You can have groups of people. So you can see here right now, I'm currently chatting with student 2, but I also have another chat down here for student 2 and student 4 together. And I have another chat down here for a list of different students. I actually don't know how many, but there's at least 4 different members in this chat here. So you also have the ability to chat with multiple people. In the chat area, you have your messaging area. In the messaging area, you can upload files. You can also upload any emojis, any GIFs, or any stickers that you want there as well, and a whole bunch of other stuff that you can do with the chat. That I'll outline just some of the cool features in there in a second. We also have here your video or audio or screen sharing conference options. So in the chat area, while you're chatting, you're realizing that, hey, this is taking way too long to type everything out, then you just simply have to click on one of these 3 buttons and that will call the individual that you're currently chatting with. So the only difference between the 3 is kind of what's enabled. So if you clicked on the phone, just the audio. If you click on the video camera, audio and video. And finally, this last one is just sharing your desktop. We then have a calendar. So the calendar is going to show you everything from your team's calendar, but that's not it. It's also showing you everything from your Outlook calendar. So Outlook and Teams are integrated. They work together. They're excellent together. I love them. Anyways, very excited about this. The only difference between scheduling a meeting in Outlook versus scheduling a meeting here with Teams, well, there's 2 differences actually. First of all, let me just go into one. First of all, the first difference is that you will have this area where you get to choose a channel. So that means that if you associate this meeting to a channel, all of your history will get updated in that channel. Any recordings will get updated in the channel. Meeting notes will get updated to that channel. Any conversation that you're having by text while the meeting's going on, all uploaded to that channel. So that is one of the big, I guess, reasons why you would schedule something in Teams rather than scheduling a meeting in Outlook, especially for anything virtual. And the second one actually seems very, very obvious, but I'll explain it anyways. If you schedule something within Teams, you automatically get that web conference portion. So you can see there's a little link at the very bottom. Everybody that receives that meeting invitation will get that link, and they can use that to go into the meeting. Now, you don't have to have access to Teams. You don't have to have Teams downloaded or installed at all in order to use that link. You can still use the link. You will have an option if you don't have Teams already downloaded and good to go. You'll have the option of using the web application, or it'll ask you to download a free copy of Teams. So either or, you can use either one, and they're both pretty good. So you can send your meetings within the organization, in which case the person would just use the controls at the top to join. Or if it's somebody that doesn't have access to your Teams application, they'll just get this nice little link in there as well. All right, so you can definitely send these meetings inside and outside of the application. As I did mention, it does integrate with Outlook, which means that if you send something outside the application or outside of your organization, then they will get an Outlook meeting invitation sent to them, which, by the way, is compatible with Google, is compatible with your Yahoo Mail and stuff like that. So you will still be able to invite people. All right. And the last couple of options here I don't use very often, to be completely honest. You do have your calls, you do have your files there. The reason I don't use calls or files very often is just simply because you can do these in other areas within the Teams application. So for example, if you're making just an impromptu call, my recommendation is just to go to your chat area and hit the call button. Really no difference, right? And the other example here is your files. So yeah, you can definitely use files in here and organize them and see the files that you've got. But to be completely honest, if you're using files, you're normally working on files and collaborating on them using the Teams area. So I don't use those terribly often. But one thing I do like to just kind of highlight, not something that we'll talk about too much today, but you can see that you can integrate with other forms of cloud storage. So kind of nice if you do have a Google account, you don't want to spend that time switching everything over to Microsoft. You can still integrate your Google account into Teams here. All right, so very nice little application. And the last couple of things that I'll mention in terms of your navigation here are your search. So I'm going to search for coffee, which I'm sure shows up somewhere in this application. Yeah, you can see there's a couple of areas. So your search results are very similar to how that works in Outlook. So you'll have your search results. You'll be able to filter them out by who it's from, by the type of message it was, and you even have some additional filters you can add on here as well. Alrighty, been talking quite a bit. I just want to make sure that I have time for everything. So I'm going to move on to working with chat. So this is our second topic of today. I just want to, just as I am moving on to working with chat, I just wanted to mention that we are always working with live trainers just like me right now, which means that you always get to ask any and all questions. That's why we wanted to put on this nice little live webinar here for you, so you get to ask all of your questions in real time. Alrighty, so just as I'm going into here, you can see you have different individuals. I explained this actually quite a bit of detail, but a couple of things that I did not mention here within your chat is that chat is persistent, which means the whole goal of Teams is actually to keep all of that chat history. So you can always go back and you can see some messages that you thought were important. That's one thing. So that's using your search that we just talked about. The second thing that I'd like to mention here within the chat is all of your chat histories are individual. They're split up between the individual, the unique group of people that you are currently working with. So you'll see, I'll start a new chat. And I'm going to put in student 2 into my chat. And you can see I've got, some history in there. I've got a chat history that I want to keep going so that I can keep a nice rapport with student 2. However, let's give the situation where I'm talking to student 2 and I say, student 3, they really need to pick up their socks on this, right? That's private information. I don't think that I want to show that directly to student 3. As much as I love, transparency and that sort of thing, there's lighter ways of putting that, right? So what I could do is I could type in student 3, and you would think that student 3 would then be able to see all that private information. And as you can see, Teams did an excellent job. What they did is they just split up all of the history between different individuals. So as I add more people into the chat area or into this particular chat, that specific group of people, the unique group of people, will have a unique chat history. Okay, so don't be worried about adding people and people seeing the wrong things in your chat, because that is going to be fairly difficult to do, to be completely honest. We will talk about all of our controls here in just a second, because you do have quite a few controls in your Teams area in terms of adding in your audio, your video, and that sort of thing, and all of those controls. But they're the same thing as with the meetings. So let me just save those for the meetings. We are going to move over to your Teams area in here, and we are going to go and start posting. Actually, you know what? Before we do, I'm actually going to create a new team. I did see that there was a question about the teams here, so I'm just going to click on create a team, build a team from scratch, and of course, I'll make it a public team, and we are going to make it a marketing team. And create. Now, once you do create that team, you do have the option of either inviting people to it, you'll see, or you'll be able to just leave it there and then people can come in and join it. Now, this one I specified was a public team. That means that everybody will have access to it. They will see it as an icon very similar to this HR icon here. So that's just a team that I haven't really joined yet. So everybody that did not have it or hasn't been invited to the marketing team, they'll still be able to just click on the button that says join. In the marketing team, I have general, but I can also make other channels. So just clicking on the 3 dots there and then add a channel, that's going to work. And the process is almost identical to creating a team where you just put in a name, description, privacy level, that sort of thing. Now, my student 2 does have access to this team. So when I do make a message here, I can start talking and student 2 will see it here as well. So I'm just going to say, we should get a blog post up on the website soon. Something like that. All right, and so now student 2 will then see it, be able to go in there, and student 2 will have 2 different options. Student 2 can either reply in line, or, which you can see is happening here, so that's just replying in line, or student 2 will be able to reply directly, creating what's called a new thread. The reason why this is important is just simply because you can see that the thread, the information is all kept together. Also notice, just very quickly, that you do get that pop-up there. So if somebody does reply to your message directly, the originator of that message will get notified. Speaking of notifications, by the way, there is something called an @ or a mention. So if you type @ and put somebody's name in there, that will mention somebody else. I'll just show you how that looks. I'm going to do a mention. I'm just going to pretend here that student 1 is currently just working on something else entirely. And I'm going to be as student 2 here and just mention my student 1 account. Alrighty, so now what you're about to see is this pop-up here. I don't know if you heard it, but there's also a little ding, so a little noise. We also get that 1 over here, and there's even an @ symbol over here. And if you go to your activity, you can see that there is something that says somebody mentioned me. So if I go to my Teams area, take a look at my blog post, you can see there's a mention example. So that was something that I typed in for my student 2 account. Student 1 then gets the @ sign on the right-hand side, and they also see their name in red. So somebody, or what's called the mention feature, is something that's super important in terms of making sure people are notified of the important posts that are in the Teams area. We also have something called files here. So I did mention files, you can collaborate on them. For the most part, they are drag and drop. So we could just drag and drop a file in here, or you can hit the upload button. Either way, the end result will be you'll have a file. So let me just go over here where there's already a file, and this is just in interest of time. Go over to files, work on my Gantt project, and which Gantt project planner. Okay, and you will notice that when you are in your file, that the cursor will pop up of the other person. This is called, well, you're currently working in SharePoint, so you can work with other people and they will see your changes, as I was mentioning. However, the other thing that I had mentioned is you can open it up in your desktop application. So once you hit that button, it's going to open up in Excel. And of course, Excel opened up on the other computer, so just give me a second to try that one more time. There we go. So you can see now you're using the full version of Excel. And on top of that, you're still seeing where other people's cursors are, even in the full version. As somebody does make changes, which I will do just very quickly here with my Student 2 account, I'm just going to put something in called obvious changes in there. And you can see obvious changes popped up right away in here in my Student 1 computer. Once you're done, of course, it's automatically saved. There is a feature here called autosave. So you can just close this off and all of your changes will be there. One thing to mention as well, I'm not entirely sure with Excel, it seems to be a little bit less so, but you will see, at least in Word, there'll be a blue dot next to any changes being made. All right. Okay, so the only other area was Wiki. I covered that really relatively well already, so I'm actually going to jump straight from my topic to straight from my topic 3 to my topic 4, working with meetings. This is the final area. This is something that nobody's seen, at least today, unless you're working in Teams today. So I'm just going to hit that join button on the meeting, which would be your process if you had an online meeting happening. You would come into this Teams calendar, you would find the meeting, and there would be a join button. The other nice thing about these meetings in here is that if you did associate them to a team, you'll see you'll see a link to this meeting in that team as well. So let me just show you that. So I'll go over to Teams. This one here was in, I believe it was in project management. Nope, wasn't. Let me just check on it. 1 second. Oh, it was process improvements. Okay. So I'll go over to Teams. I'll go over to process improvements, and you can see there is the Lunch and Learn meeting here, and you'll just be able to click on that to go directly to the meeting itself. Now, a little bit of a silly thing, but little details like that really help you kind of navigate Teams from wherever you currently are working. All right. Then all I would do is I would click on Join. You can see when you're in a team, first of all, that's me. Hi, everybody. You will get the option of turning on or off your camera before you join the actual meeting. You'll get the option of turning on and off your audio as well. I'll turn that off for now just to not duplicate my audio. And I'll hit join. I will do the same thing for my Student 2 account so that you can see kind of an interaction going on. Oh. Well, that's fun. Teams didn't like me there for whatever reason, and it crashed. That's okay. Let's hit join one more time. Okay, so this is your chat area or your meetings area. This looks the exact same as if you were doing a call, by the way. You can see me from the perspective of my other computer up there. So that's me, and this is my room. I apologize for some of the mess back there. But just so that you know, this area is where all of your video is going to happen. If you have video turned on yourself, you'll see a little thumbnail at the very bottom and that sort of thing. You can turn on or off your video, which I'm going to turn it off right now just because it's a bit distracting while I present this for you. Alrighty. You also have options like raise your hand, which are quite nice. While you're in a meeting, you don't have to interrupt anybody. You can raise your hand. You have options like having a chat on the side. This chat, by the way, it's persistent. It will happen on the side, but it will keep all of that chat history within this meeting. You'll be able to refer back to it later. Oh, good question to show right now. So if I raise my hand from the other computer's perspective, you can see it says student 2 has their raised hand right there. So that is a good question. Thanks, Joanne. All right. Also, you've got your show participants. So this list will show a list of all of the participants currently in the meeting. If, for whatever reason, you're holding the meeting and you realized, hey, we probably should have invited Kathy to this meeting. I don't have a Kathy, but I'll type in student 4 over here. You can actually just type in their name and it'll call them. Of course, Kathy or student 4 here is not signed in, so that's why it says unavailable, but it will just give them a call. By the way, in terms of calls, how that shows up is you get, similarly to Skype, you get this little pop-up at the bottom right, and it'll just say, hey, somebody's calling you right now. Do you want to answer? You also have some other options here. So a few other things here. So we're just going to talk about meeting notes. So if you click on meeting notes here, you will see that there is an area for meeting notes and you can capture anything you would like. So in this example, I'm just going to say action items, which is pretty typical. Do the thing, do the other thing. Of course, those are your notes. Once they're done, you don't really have to do anything else. You can just click on the X. That will get rid of them, but they will be saved there after the meeting is done. You also have the option here to share your screen. So you can see you can pick whatever screen you want to share, and that's just going to share your screen to other people. In your screen sharing I guess, session that you've got going on, you have the option to give control. So I can actually choose who I want to give control to. They would then have access on my computer. I'm just going to hit stop presenting there. A couple of final kind of mentions. You do have the option to record. That will stick with the meeting afterwards. And you have options here. You can see there's a whiteboard application. So if you do want to give a whiteboard presentation, that's there as well. All right. So close that off. And I'll close that off from the other computer's perspective here as well. And as you can see, when you do close that off, if you're in your Teams area, in the proper channel, you'll see a list of all of the history. So you can see here that one, there was the body of that email or the body of the meeting request. You have the date, the time, the name, any history. So there was some notes there. If you click on the replies, you can see all of the conversation. So I put in this meeting is awesome. And finally, you have your notes as I mentioned. So I'll just click on that and you can see all the action items. Those notes, once you do have a notes section, once you have done some set of notes for that channel, it will automatically put this tab up here called meeting notes, and you can access all of your meeting notes from all meetings related to that channel there. All right, so this would be a really bad session. I do realize there's a bunch of questions. I am going to get to them in just a second. This would be a really bad session without some shortcut keys. So just making sure that I do explain some shortcut keys here before we go. Control E is to go up to your search bar so you can search for anything. But of course, your search bar doesn't just search. So if you hit Control E and then you type @ oops, the only symbol is @ and then somebody's name, you can actually go and give a quick message to anybody without moving where you are in the application. So that's Control E to get up to the search bar, use the @ symbol and somebody's name, and you can use that for chat, just a quick chat. Control 1 through 6 just allows you to go through the different features here. And what's one last good one for you? I guess Control G here will allow you to go to a different area. So just moving you to a different channel or different team in your application here. Okay, So with that, I'm just going to wait for some questions to roll in here. I do know there's a few of them. Just make sure to get all of your questions out just while I navigate you just quickly through our websites here. I just wanted to explain a few things about our websites, and then I'll get to those questions. All right, so we do have two different websites because we do have two separate sister companies, one called COMPUEASE.ca and the other one called jnsoftware.ca. On both of those, we do have our working from home resources. So just to point those out real quickly, if you can see the resources here, you can click on the free resources and that will bring you kind of a list of everything that we give you to get started with technology working from home. Our course list is up. If you do want to take a look at any of the courses, browse through what we do. So if you click on the course list, just that button generally, it'll bring you to a page that looks like this. You'll get a list of everything that we do. And finally, you can click on either calendar view or list view to give our next upcoming public courses. Of course, we do private, we do one-on-one courses as well. So if there's not any public courses that you see here that fit your schedule, then just let us know. All of our contact information is always at the very top right of any given page. JN Software works very similarly, so you do get those free resources there. We do have a virtual public schedule as well, and you can click on your courses to take a look at all of the courses we offer here as well. One thing I will mention here as well is we are offering a bit of a discount here on the Teams application, on the training for Teams. So if you click on that Teams application link, it will show you everything that we teach you here in our Teams 3-hour course. It gives you everything that you need to know about Teams. The price is listed here at $245, but if you do mention to anybody, whether you're calling in or if you're emailing us or however you want to contact us, you can even see there's a message box you can use to contact us here as well. Then we'll give it to you for $199. So again, that is I Need a Coffee, and off of our Teams course, we'll give that to you $199. If you do click on our public schedule, you can see that there is just temporarily a PDF that we have up here. We are moving to that more interactive schedule on the JN Software website as well, so that's coming up soon. But for now, we have this PDF that's up there. Some of our free resources that we do offer, we do have a blog, so you can take a look through, and it will give you some good information about some of the tools that we love. So just some kind of helpful startup information about that. You can see here one of our soft skills courses, Business Writing That Actually Works. This blog post was kind of an introduction to that course. We do have a free YouTube channel as well. So again, all of these tools are all at the very top right-hand side of each of our websites, but we do have that YouTube channel as well. You can see we've got Excel tips, Word tips, Outlook tips, Visio tips, a ton of different tips. They're all really good. A lot of them were put together by the lovely Christine, my colleague there. So definitely take a look through those if you are interested. And we have our webinars. So you've already been here because you had to register for this one, but you can see today's is Launch Your Team into Collaboration Overdrive with Microsoft Teams. We have one coming up next month, What's the Deal with Databases? We have one coming up after that, SharePoint, bringing organization to your digital world, turning data into decisions with Excel dashboards, reducing the barriers as well, and that one's in September. We do have multiple pages of these. We have a lot of webinars coming up, and if you want to see any of our previous webinars, there is a button over on the right-hand side for previous webinars here. And every single one of them was recorded, so if you take a look and you actually are interested in one of them, just click on the link here, the YouTube link. And finally, I will provide this link here, jnsoftware/audit. As I mentioned, you just have to fill in a few fields. We'll contact you. We'll give you some information, and then we will provide you with a report you can take home for any training or database development services that we offer. And we'll recommend some of our free or paid resources that way. So I'll just throw that in there. Okay, so now for the questions. I do apologize for pushing up kind of near the end of this for the questions, but I'm going to go through here. So Let me just... How do you change your team's ID on your profile, your team's profile? I was invited to a meeting and given an ID. I wish to change it to my name rather than my title. Is this possible, or do I have to delete Teams from my computer and re-download it? So your name in your Teams application is going to be your team's ID. This is a Microsoft, I guess, a Microsoft name that you've got here, very likely. So if you're logging in with your Student One account, for example, it will show your Microsoft name. So you will have to play around with your Microsoft settings. Now that's more on the admin side, so I'm actually a little bit fuzzy on that one. But I do know that you would have to go into your Microsoft 365 settings in order to change your name, Luann. From Joanne, can you add external people to your team? So Joanne, yes, you can add external people to your team. They are called something, they're called guests. So you are able to put in a guest account. They will still have a guest account, but it will be severely limited. So they won't be able to do a lot of the stuff. I believe they can upload files. And they can do things like join the meetings, and they can even work on some of the files, but they won't be able to do things like upload files in your chat. They won't be able to add or remove teams and stuff like that. So you can add external people to your team, but it would be at a different rate. You'll have different kind of functions than a regular user. Planner should be your next webinar. Thank you. I agree. Can we have a separate calendar item for each team? Separate calendar for each team. I believe, Jacqueline, you are talking about Planner, using that Planner application, and yes, you can. So with the Planner application, with the Planner application, the Planner will allow you to come up with multiple plans. So they're just different groups of plans there. And let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong about that. Wrong in my assumption of what your question was, I should say. Amy, where are the files uploaded to Teams stored? When are the files changed, updated in Teams? Does it auto-update the file in the drive that the file was originally uploaded from? Okay, good question, Amy. This is all about files. Okay, so files. When you upload them to Teams, they're inherently added to the SharePoint backend that comes directly with Teams. Again, something that you don't necessarily have to think about. It's all done for you. So you don't have to create SharePoint pages and that sort of thing. It does it for you. But it is uploaded to SharePoint in the backend. And once it's uploaded there, the file is only edited there. It's edited in real time, meaning that if somebody else makes a change to it, you'll see it right away, but it is only edited there. Next question from Luann. Can you delete chats? Yes, you can definitely delete chats. I think that one's done at a admin level though, so you could not delete them as a user of the application. So that's something to check in with your IT team just to make sure that they have, or they at least have the know-how to be able to delete chats there. Users can't delete them themselves. Okay, from Joanne. So as you add people to a chat, it filters out chats which do not include them previously. Did I understand that correctly? Yes, you did. So chats are unique to the group of people you are currently working with. So as you add more people into it, then it will become just a separate chat history. There are exceptions to that. It is possible to go around that rule. I think you can add somebody and mention, I don't think I have the permissions to do that on my application to show you. Yeah, I don't think I do. So you are able to add people to the chat, and sometimes it does ask you if you want to show the new people the old history. So you can definitely specify you want to do that, but I don't think my user has the permission. So it is on the admin side that I'd have to give myself permissions for that. Alrighty, Joanne, how do others see your hand is raised? Oh, I showed that one. What does the whiteboard look like? Joanne, I just didn't have time to go through the whiteboard because that's a kind of a more advanced function that I'd like to show in my course. But the whiteboard, quite simply, it just looks like a white background, and then you'll have a choice of 5 different pens, and you just click and drag to create some content on your whiteboard. Is the whiteboard content saved? Not by default. Well, it is. It's just not saved in the Teams area. It is saved within the whiteboard application. So you'll have to get comfortable with the whiteboard application to retrieve those, or just take a screenshot of your whiteboard when you're done. From Luann, can you group training for teams? Can you do group training for teams? Yes, definitely. Good question, Luann. We do group training for teams. So if you want to sign up with us, then that would be great. I'll just make sure to get your contact information for that, and then we'll contact you about group training for teams for sure. And I do it all online if you'd like, especially in the current climate. So that should help out quite a bit, and I've done it quite a few times. So I'm getting pretty good at it, I think. One from, sorry, I don't think this is a full name, but S. Phone Keo. Jesse, can you answer the questions instead of publicize your company? Well, yes, but it is a free webinar, so we do like to give some answers to questions as well as some publications for sure. Melanie, I'm chatting with Luann privately. Perfect. Joanne, great, thanks. Have to go. Stay safe. Thank you, Joanne. Perfect. Okay, that was a speed round, but I got through all of them. Yes, excellent. Well, if there's any more questions, I am going to stay on the line for the next 2-3 minutes or so. We did hit the end of our webinar time, but I'm the organizer, so I get to decide when it ends. So you guys can ask any more questions that you would like, for sure. From Luann, really enjoyed the session. Definitely want to learn more. Stay safe. Perfect. Excellent. Thanks, Luann. Stay safe, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Jacqueline. Appreciate that. Jacqueline said, thank you, Jesse. This is a good session. Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that. From Chris, how to move people from the old office way to a more collab space. Really, really good question there, Chris. And this is really going to be dependent on the kinds of things that you are currently dealing with in your current climate, if I'm explaining this right. Next webinar. Definitely, I'm going to mark that down as one of my, it's a really, really good question. So very, very pertinent to today's climate too. So I can definitely mark that down as a good idea. Hopefully I can get my boss on board. So just to answer the question quickly, moving people from an old office way to a more collab space, really this climate right now has pushed us generally, but depending on your office climate the way it is, the kind of trust that your managers have in the employees to be able to work from home and that sort of thing, it's going to be a tough one to navigate for sure. So I do appreciate the question, and definitely Teams is a good help, good starting point to get started with collaboration. Perfect. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. All right. It seems like people are taking off. So I do appreciate everybody being here. It was fun doing this. So until next time. Next one, of course, is databases. So we'll talk a little bit about that next time. All right. Thanks. Have a good day and stay safe out there.